The Grinch.
4 a.m.
Wallow in self-pity.
4:30, stare into the abyss. 5.
Solve world hunger. Tell no one.
5:30.
Jazzercise.
6:30.
Dinner with me. I can't cancel that again.
7 o'clock. Wrestle with my self-loathing. I'm booked.
Welcome to GMTLDR for the December 2024 monthly update.
I'm not saying they're getting longer, but they could be getting longer. I feel like the ghost of Christmas present. You know the one with the wreath on his head with the... Ooh. This is fun. Very seasonal.
Is that like North Africa 41 or something?
I think it is. I'm not 100% because I don't remember, but I think
You
it is
strung
North
out when you
Africa.
made it. On hot chocolate and candy canes and spaghetti.
Tis the season for being sleep deprived. Anyway.
All right. So pulling Gene in to talk about this.
We're having you on because we have our section about economic headwinds and some of the things that are changing.
Let's get down to brass tacks. Let's go over some quick bullet points on what we're looking at. What are the changes that the customers are going to be seeing?
Well, first of all, there's a price increase, 7 to 10%, closer to 9 to 10 on most things across the board is what we decided that we needed. That just kind of is what it is. As I wrote, the silver lining is we're never going to change the P500 prices. So what's happened is anybody who's had orders on P500 or anybody in the future who orders from those games, from those P500 games, those prices aren't changing. So now instead of getting like 32 or 33%, a lot of them are more like 38, 39, 40% discounts. So hopefully that's one small way we can give back.
Okay.
What we do is when we put a game on there, we don't know the weight. We look at the price or the weight of similar games that have had similar components in the past. Mm-hmm. And so usually that's gone pretty well, but in roughly 40% of the cases across 400 and some items, it was off by a pound, a couple times 2 pounds, not very often, but usually by a pound. And the other thing is that plays into that is if something is 5.1 pounds, UPS charges it as 6 pounds.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times we were rounding down when UPS was rounding up. And that doesn't sound like a big deal, but if you look at that across 50,000 packages that we'd send in a year, that if it's a dollar or two for that difference, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, but sometimes it's way more than that. So
yeah, it is. As the example I gave for Australia, overseas it can get really crazy really fast. Mm-hmm. So we had to fix this part so that at least we know that when we send something out, the weight that we're charging is the same as the weight that we're getting charged.
Right.
Great news for Australians.
Yeah, Tony found a really good thing, and he just kind of remembered that there was this company in Australia that had done us right during COVID when we were giving free games to people. And you know, it's one thing to give a free game away. It's another thing to pay $100 to ship that game to Australia. And so they let us ship a bunch of them to them, and then they delivered them to customers. And they were faithful in that and did a good job. So kudos to them. And, you know, now it looks like we're going to have the same type of deal for our P500 customers.
I wanted to know the name of the place. I think it's in here somewhere.
Yeah, it's VR Distribution.
VR Distribution. Okay. So you can order through us and get it distributed, or can you also order from them?
Yes, they've made a large distributor order, and the plan is that they're going to be a large distributor for us in Australia.
Okay.
So we are now raving fans of VR Distribution.
Yeah.
But the big thing they're doing, which is, you know, nice, and of course, you know, they don't do it only out of the goodness of their heart. We pay them, but because we can ship in bulk to them, and then they can deliver individually to the customers in Australia, it's just much, much cheaper. So we don't know exactly what those numbers are yet, but Tony's working on that with Mitch and with the folks in Australia. I feel so bad for our customers in Brazil. And it is weird. I hate this. You know, what happened is we started getting packages back from Brazilian customs. And we were pretty much like, what the heck?
Why is this happening? Yeah.
Yeah. And then it wasn't just one, it was a bunch. And we looked into it, and they basically, all they would tell us is you violate a new law or standard we have about playing cards. Well, we don't have playing cards in the sense of, ace through king in any of our games. So we're still trying to figure out what the deal is. But some of these packages came back to us torn up, and where they just ripped into them and then shipped it back to us. I don't know why they bothered. And so we end up paying shipping kind of both ways, and the customer gets nothing. And so, of course, our office people are great, and they refund the money of any customers caught in that really quickly. But we just hate it because these are our customers we've had for a long time, and we like them, and they like our games, and they just can't get them right now. So the only thing we can say is, hey, if you have a friend in the States, or a lot of our overseas customers use mail forwarding services that end up saving them a ton of money over the year. So it might be a time to look into that. I know many have found that helpful. Yeah, it looks like we're going to do a winter sale. We're not 100% on that yet. But the thing is, when we look at our cash reserves, thankfully, Tony Curtis keeps really strong cash reserves, which is why we've been able to survive the difficulties of 2024. But our cash reserves are a little bit depleted right now, and we'd really rather them not become a lot depleted. So we're looking at our all that inventory in our warehouse and saying, well, why don't we trade some inventory for cash? And it'll be another way that we can give the customers 40 or 50% off on some of these games and make it not so hard on them that we've had to raise prices. So yeah, it might be 40 or 50% off an increased 7 to 10% increased price, but you're still getting a really great deal on the game. So we're thinking we're going to do that. And the hardest thing now logistically is just to get that so it's away from the charge ship cycles of P500, because otherwise our office folks will just get overwhelmed. And that's always something we take into account.
This was actually a surprise to me. I had no idea this was happening.
That's really cool. We're going to have a digital version of Mark Herman's Rebel Fury, and it's very close to release, which, yeah, was a surprise to me. So it's been developed by Hexes of War, and it's going to be on Steam for Windows, Mac, and Linux.
The U.S. Army Command and General Staff College played Defiance this week, which is fun. It's always cool to see when we have U.S. military people using GMT games for strategic exercises and teaching. We finished shipping War Games According to Mark, so hopefully everyone's at least started their book by now.
Yeah, that'll be some fun holiday reading for everybody.
And coming up in the new year, January 6th, we're planning to charge for the 2024 replacement counter sheet, second printing of A Jest of Robin Hood, and Congress of Vienna.
So we had our most recent episode of GMT Talk posted this week with Adam Blenkinsop, and we talked about Echo from the Dark, his design, and Red Dust Rebellion, which is Jay Carmichael's design that he developed. And so that was a fun chat. We had a good time, so go check that out. Whoa, this is cool.
Box back sneak peek this time is for LHY Volume 5 for King and Country. Those maps look pretty sweet.
I've always liked the Last 100 Yards maps. They look really good. Playtesters wanted for Hammer and Sickle. Developer Joe Dudehurst is issuing a call for non-player testers. Non-player testers. What?
Testing the non-player, I think.
It's like, wait, how can you have a non-player tester?
We would like you to test not playing the game. Jason gave some more shout outs and really kind of like familiarize people who might not know members of the development team with members of the development team.
So he talked about Mike Berticelli, who is fantastic. We love him in this house for many reasons, but the main one that I remember is he was the developer on Mr. President, which was not an easy job, but he just released his game Wolfpack, great game, and he's going to be helping develop Microverse and all of Sam London's games. So Mike is just doing a ton of development stuff for us, and he's the best. We love him.
Yeah, he is.
David Kurtz.
He's helped GMT with tabletop simulator modules. He has helped with iNapoleon, and he has helped with the Plum Island Horror expansion, More of a Bad Thing.
He also mentioned Andrew Stead and Colin Parsons, who are the Fields of Fire series developers. Jason says they're a bit like GMT's version of Laurel and Hardy, and they also help point out any typos in Jason's updates. Anyway, they do a lot of Fields of Fire and they help with a lot of other projects as well. So they're pretty great.
And of course, Kai Jensen. I think we all know Kai. She's also helped out a lot in the development for Combat Commander and Fighting Formations and Downfall. I mean, every one of Chad's designs.
She's great. We stand. The new P500 additions for this month are Ermine, Battles in the War of Breton Succession, 1341 to 1364, Thunderverse Track Pack, and Rebel Fury second printing.
Do you know if it's Ermine or Ermine?
I do not.
Hermie one?
I hope that I pronounced it correctly, but if I did not, I'm very sorry.
I'm just a little baby.
I'm just a baby.
Okay, so Ermine is volume 7 in the Men of Iron series, and Pierre noted in the write-up that this is going for the original design intent that Richard Berg had for Men of Iron number 1. If you like Men of Iron number 1, it should be kind of similar, covering 6 major battles in the 100 Years of War.
I think this is going to be pretty interesting, so I'm looking forward to seeing this. The Thunderverse.
Yeah, it's a cool name. For people who enjoy Thunder Alley, Grand Prix, and Apocalypse Road from Carla and Jeff Horger, they are putting out another track pack like they had for the Thunder Alley track pack. And this will have tracks for all 3 of the games in it.
There are, I believe, 4 tracks, and there are 2 double-sided boards. Some of the tracks will work for all 3 games. Some will work for like 2. So it's not like every single track works for every single games, but kind of like it's just a variety. So it's fun.
And we're getting Mark Herman's Rebel Fury back in print.
New P500s. Okay, so last month, the teaser, a new series game with battles set in the War of Breton Succession, was teasing Ermine. I don't know what the new game for Mark Simonich is. I think I have inklings, but I can't remember the name.
Probably World War II location 40-something.
That's a safe bet, I would say.
Yeah.
But you never know. It could be Ancients. It could be something else. I don't know.
Space.
The Final Frontier. We've also got a strategy game set in Russia. That may not be that big of a surprise to some. We've had some various teasers about games set in Russia already, but take a guess.
Don't know about the Grand Tactical game Eastern Front World War II.
I'm not sure about that either.
Something new from Ted Racer. If you're paying attention, you could probably figure that one out.
For Inside GMT this week, we had a great article from Perry Silverman, the designer of Illusions of Glory, about troop quality in the 2nd edition. We also had another article from Non-Breaking Space about Solitaire Tac Ops Ortona. We also posted a companion video to that article on YouTube. So if you want to check either of those out, the links are in my section. And I also highlighted the series from Alex Knight about Hammer and Sickle, which I thought was an excellent series. So you should definitely read all of them. So you'll notice the next shipment after our January shipment is a little bit bigger than we thought it would be. And the January shipment is a little bit smaller than we thought it would be. And that is because we've had some really weird problems with one of the shipments that was coming. I am approved to say this. So basically we had 2 ships that had all of the products that were supposed to come in the next week or 2 for our January shipment. One of the ships, when it was leaving port, ran aground. So they had to, all of the product is fine. Okay, nothing went into the ocean or anything like that, but they had to offload all of the products onto a different ship in Taiwan. And now that ship is going to be coming, but it's going to be slightly delayed because, of course. Yeah, you didn't know this? Yeah, it's because one of the ships ran aground.
That still happens in 2024.
It still happens in 2024. And I honestly, when he told me this, I was like, what does that mean? But all the product is safe. It's just delayed for a couple more weeks from that one shipment. So the other shipment, the one that had the replacement counter sheet, Jest of Robin Hood and Congress of Vienna, is already in the US. So we're going to have that one on time. But the other one, it got delayed by just the most random stuff. Kai's job, very difficult. Kai, thank you for dealing with all this random stuff. So we're going to have a slightly larger charge in February because of the delays.
So you should definitely go read this for yourselves. But in summary, Kai says that things are still somewhat uncertain. She's still trying to hone in the categories for this production outlook. So they're even more specific and conservative than last month's. Go check the status of whatever games you're interested in again, because they're even more specific and accurate now than last time.
Hello, content creators. Goodbye, content creators. We've got the box cover for The Last 100 Yards, Volume 5, King and Country. This is cool. I like the red.
Sample cards for Twilight Struggle 20th Anniversary Hall of Fame Edition.
These look sick. I love the detail on the little kind of arrow. It
Oh,
looks
yeah,
a little
this
bit like
thing.
the communicator from Star Trek, but it's inside of the star. And this is supposedly going to help with some who are colorblind. Instead of being confused about the color necessarily, they'll see a left arrow will be
Means USSR event.
USSR, and then gray with the pointing
Neutral.
up is neutral, and then pointing right is
US.
United States. So I thought that was genius.
New artwork, new layout, new design.
I'm excited about this
Looks good.
version, the Hall of Fame version coming out.
Man, when I saw this,
I was shook
this
by this, dude. I
blew
was
me
like,
away.
what?
Holy cow.
Like, I was shocked when I saw this because, first of all, a sideways box cover.
Yeah.
We don't do those like
that
ever.
is different.
And just like the building with the stark black and white with the graffiti art piece from
BG 183 of the legendary Tats crew.
which, not being from the Bronx or New York, I don't really know much about, but it looks really cool. And I'm sure locals probably understand more than we would.
This blew my mind, and I was like, dang, this is what he was talking about last month, that teaser that he gave.
Yeah, it's so
That's
cool.
so cool. Yeah, NB also wrote a note kind of describing some of the process of him choosing this cover and getting with that artist. So you should read that as well.
We also have the box back for the American Revolution Tri-Pack #2. And you get to see some of the map art and some counter art. So look at the TTS mod for Coast Watchers.
A couple maps for decisive action.
Syria map and Hohenfels.
Update time. Designer Tom Lehman and his team give an update on 1833 Northeast, and they think they're on track to wrap up in the first quarter of next year. And I think they are working on or have their box cover already, which you said has a famous and period accurate locomotive. Unfortunately, I don't know anything about 1830s locomotives, so I have no guesses, but I'm sure that some people do know about those things and have a good guess.
Got an 1848 Springtime of Nations update from the designer and the developer. And they were talking about how they just finished the card manifest and made some final changes to the decks in the game. And then the next thing that they're going to work on is counter art for the game and final card layout. So they're very clearly in the art department right now, and it's just moving forward.
And then Gene can push the big red button to turn on the printing machines. I really enjoyed this update on A Fading Star from Jan. It's a little bit too long to talk about on here, so you should go read it. But he talks about the art for the game, what he wants it to be like, what he wants you to feel, and some of the like current trends in Somalia that he wants to draw from, and some of the landscape of Somalia as well. Very interesting. So check that out.
Got a little bit of an update from Frank Chadwick and Carl Crater and Jason Carr about a House Divided Designer Edition. They talk a little bit about Carl's playtesting with his set at SC HistCon, and just a little bit about the tweaks they're making and what's next for the project. So
Rob said the final edits for all the games are now in the proofreader's hands. He's applying input to the final proofs, so all the components should be updated in the next few days, and it'll be ready.
So for Decisive Action, they said their playtesting is nearly complete. So now they're doing final edits on the rules and charts. And I liked seeing the artwork comparisons down below between the amateur playtest artwork and the professional. You can really see a difference, and I like to see those types of things. So that was cool. And read it all. This is a little too long for me to cover, but take a look.
So Adam updates us on Echo from the Dark. Obviously, it made the cut. Development is continuing on with lots of volunteers. He's going to be at a few cons in the future with his prototype, if anyone is going to those and wants to play them. And he's working on a series of Inside GMT articles.
The update for Expansion or Extinction is that they have made significant progress on the rulebook. And they're doing some other changes to that, such as verbiage changes and adaptations, because they're changing from a historical world to a science fiction world.
Andrew Stead gives an update on the Fields of Fire series. He mentions that the deluxe edition should be heading out to people's tables in the beginning of 2025. So that'll be a great way to start out your new year. They've been playtesting the Afghanistan campaign for Volume 3, which again has the modern comforts of communications and missile launchers and things like that. And he teases that they're also working on prototypes for future volumes or expansions in Fields of Fire, such as Binhole's Saipan expansion. So lots going on in the Fields of Fire universe.
We have an update from Hammer and Sickle designer Alex Knight, who, for those of you who don't know, just won the SD Hist Summit Award for his other design, Land and Freedom. So congrats, Alex. He talks in this update about some in-person tests he did at PAX Unplugged and just how helpful it would be to get some more play testers for the game, which we talked about above. They're calling for play testers for Hammer and Sickle. So definitely sign up if you're interested. It'll help them a lot.
Joe Schmidt talks about progress with Henry. They've been working on the solitaire scenario, and one of the things he talked about was the different personas you can play as for Henry V. And he shows this image of the Warrior King persona that he has. Really cool that you can play the game different ways and have different victory conditions based on the personas.
For Imperial Eagles, the carrier operations, they're still working through. He now has the last source he's been waiting for to complete the new version of the Guadalcanal Progressive campaign.
Okay, Edgar gives an update on Iron Storm. He's been working on the 2 versus 2 game mode recently, where the decks are divided into different nations. So one person would take Germany, and another would take Austria-Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria. So it's nice that they're working on a different game mode that wasn't the original intent.
Hey, we've got a Mr. President update. And do we have an update? Because I have been helping Gene with this task, basically making him focus on things. But we did go through some edits together on the governing manual that Marco Putra had sent. There were like 200 or so that we just had to go page by page on that. So we got that next round done and going to continue doing that. My role is more like lead motivator /
But
editor part 2. Yeah. So we're making progress on that, but we're going to take a break for the holidays. Big thanks to Marco. He's doing so much work to get some of the wording updated on these different booklets. Like, he's doing a great job just from what I've seen in that 2 days I was working on it. So thanks a lot, Marco.
All right, Jim Crone and Marco Putra wrote an update about Space Empire's All Good Things, which is getting dangerously ready. So that's exciting. Justin Martinez is doing the final layout, and Marco's going through one last time before handing it over to Jim for the final sign-off for the printer.
Before we can press the big red button.
The big red button.
Stepping into hell. It's been in development for over 3 years. All 12 scenarios have been playtested 1 to 5 times, and most of them are in good shape. And they're going to concentrate their development efforts on refining the victory conditions next.
Marco Putra is really doing a lot, isn't he? We're hearing from him.
He really is.
On the Plum Island Horror expansion. He talked about how it's a pleasure to work with Herman and that they've been working on new factions, new events, new fate cards, and new search cards, and the alarming mode difficulty for the expansion, which is now published on BGG as well. And there's a little bit more of a write-up in detail that you can see below about what's coming with the new expansion. So check that out.
For the Weimar Republic, the team has been working hard on final phases, and they're working on final edits to the rules right now. The next step will be to edit and finalize the rules for the non-player bots, which were designed by Joe Schmidt. Weimar will ship with full bots for each faction, allowing 1 to 4 players to play the full game. After they work on those, they're going to work on the map art and the player aids with Terry Leeds.
Brad and Ray gave us an update on Time of Crisis Deluxe Edition, which is coming out soon. They teamed up with Rally the Troops to actually get a public playtest version of the Deluxe Edition on there. So if you're interested in being a public tester, you can sign up and play on Rally the Troops.
All right, Twilight Struggle 20th Anniversary Hall of Fame Edition. You guys saw earlier in the update that we have some card art for this game, and it looks really good. They feel these new cards are one small step towards making Twilight Struggle more accessible and appealing to a broader market of gamers. They're also testing the alternate history scenario Red Sun Rising to make sure it's fun and interesting before laying out booklets. Okay, man, can't wait till Wings for the Baron comes out. So fun.
I love that game. The Wings for the Baron team, they're getting serious about wrapping up development for the game. They're working on getting a tabletop simulator module from David Kurtz, who Jason mentioned earlier, and it shouldn't take too long because the game has already had previous editions, so there won't be any large issues with the game. And it should be in the art department in maybe the second half of 2025.
The Zhanga team is in the final phase of development. Right now they're focused on making sure the rules, player aids, and visual language all make the game easy to manage. A allowing players to focus less on the minutia and more on the rich narrative experience. They're still playtesting. Donald Haggerty has produced a fine map, which we hope to share soon. I would like to see this map. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
I really like Donald's maps.
Me too. He always does beautiful work. And that's the end. Merry Crimbus.
Merry Chrysler.
Happy holidays.
What is this? Enjoy your holidays in the next week or two. So it's been a great year of GMTLDR. We are happy to keep doing this next year. It's really fun. We hope you guys have enjoyed.
We'll see everyone next year. GMTLDR in 2025 is going to be completely
lit. I mean,
unrecognizable. Totally different from what we're already doing. My New Year's resolution is to find my own replacement so I don't have to do it anymore.
What?
Thanks for tuning in to GMTLDR.